Hi and welcome back. Personalized ornaments is such a great and easy seller. Believe it or not, but this design was made in approximately 10 minutes. The setup of the design took roughly around 5 minutes in total, actually less. Designing the ornament took a couple of minutes too, and I ended up this result in 5 minutes and 30 seconds on my laser. In this video, I will show you exactly how to design this one, how to turn your photos into engravable SVGs, and as a little bonus, I also made this edition because the picture is my own mother-in-law who recently passed away. So I wanted to make a personal project and make a memorial ornament. But you can, of course, turn these into any type of memorable ornaments, keychains, whatever. So in case this is something you would like to learn, stick around and watch the video. What I'll be using to make my image is Victorvich. I am not affiliated with this software, but I am great friends with Emna, who developed this website, and it's absolutely genius. If you're not a part of his Facebook group, I dropped the link below so you can see some of the results, and they honestly speak for themselves. But I do have an account, so what I want to do is head over to my workspace, and down below you can see some of the images that I already generated. So these are generated from the picture I have of my mother-in-law and my son Felix, but I also played around a little with it by trying to make some SVGs for a cutting board, and this was just by using a prompt. I also took my dog Zoe and converted an image of her, and this down here is actually our house. Also, I took a colorful logo and converted it into black and white for engraving. So there are a lot of possibilities with this software. When you enter, you can upload a file, and then you have a lot of options on how you want the AI generator to create the SVG. Below on my pictures here, you can see that this one was drawing, this was engraving, this was also drawing, but there are two different options. I had engraving here and line sketch. So you have these which says image, and they will basically create an image for you that you can print or trace. But the vector options down here, you can actually save directly as an SVG, which is really, really awesome. So let's try the outline because I haven't tried that one yet, and you can see how easy it is. So I will go to uploads and I'll upload my image file. Once it's uploaded, I can choose the aspects ratio if I want it square, if I want it landscape or portrait or whatever. Square is fine by me, but I want to get rid of the background. So I'll type a prompt and just type in remove background like that. And then I'll pick whatever image style that I want, and let's try the outline. And let's see what it will generate. So I just hit generate, and as you see, it is working on creating my image. And it does take a bit of time, but I actually think it's pretty fast, especially compared to if you wanted to draw this by hand in Procreate or something like that. And like that, my SVG has been created. This one I'm probably not really happy about because the lines are pretty thin and the outline is pretty thick. Also, it took way too much of my table. But you could go in and just type out your prompt a little bit, and as you see, it's honestly really amazing what this app can do. But if I were to use this as a picture only, this is honestly my favorite. This is a pencil sketch, And imagine how you could sell this service for a printout on a canvas or something like that. If I hit download, you can see that this one you can only download as PNG or JPEG, but the other version I have up here, which is very similar. You can see that this is lines and this was in the vector mode, and this is the one that I will be using. So here I can download as vector files or PNG, JPEG. I want to use the SVG file, so I'll just click download and there's my file. So let's head over to LightBurn and I'll show you how to make an ornament. I am now in LightBurn. This is my workspace. I didn't add a machine to this, but I always prefer to design outside the workspace anyway. The ornament is the easiest thing in the world to make because you just head over to shapes and then you choose an ellipse and you can draw out the shape. You could make it oval or you could make it round or you could make it anything you want. If I were making a house as example, an oval landscape faced oval would probably be really great for a house. For a memorial ornament or a portrait, I think that the oval shape would also be really nice. I am planning on doing just a little bit more with my ornament, but I'll show you how I would make this one if I would just going to offer this for sale. Because honestly, this takes minutes. You saw how easy and fast the generated image took. So I will draw out an oval and then I'll go to the width and height and determine how big I want it to be. For this one, I think I will have a height of 10 centimeters, which is around 4 inches. The width, I obviously have to make a little smaller, but instead of typing in a fixed width, I might as well just stick with where I think it would look nice. I can see that 8 centimeters will give the shape that I am hoping for. So this is the foundation of my ornament. But you could make it round, square, rectangular, or whatever you want. I still have my circle, so I of course want to make a hanging. If I hold down my shift key, you can see that it will create a perfectly round circle. So I'll hold it down, create the circle, and then I'll size it down. For my hanging holes, I usually prefer a hole that is around 5 millimeter. If I had toggled on the lock up here, it would scale as a locked aspect ratio, but that's okay. So I'll just move it a little closer. If I get it to my line here, you can see that it will automatically snap to the center, which is great, but I don't want it to be down here, so I'll just move it up a little bit. And then I will choose my circle and I'll go to offset shapes. On the offset shapes, I will pick outward and I will make it smaller, around 3, 2 maybe even, but 3 will make it a tiny bit sturdier. So let's make this 3, and then I can grab my circle here. I can hold down Control, mark my ornaments, and I can hit rolls. And that's my ornament. So let's import the picture. You can either open it up like this, but I honestly don't like opening up this way. I prefer to go to my folders and I'll just go to my downloads. And here I have my engraving, which I just saved. So let's just close this again and I'll just zoom out a little and I'll scale this down. The nice thing about SVGs is that you can scale them exactly how you want. So I do want to make sure that these are grouped. So if I hit Control G, it will group, or I could right click and just pick group. Now everything is grouped together. And now I can start placing it as I want it to be. So I'll make it around here. And I will make it the colors that I use. So I always use black for cutting. I use red for engraving. And as you see, it does look like line layer right now. If I set it to film, it still does, and that's because I always prefer to design wireframe smooth. But for your sake, I think I will go ahead and go to window, and I'll choose filled smooth. So now you can see that it just filled my engraving like this. Now I can go in and type in a text, and my mother-in-law's name was Alice Woods Sørensen, and she passed away on December 10, and this is how we type dates in Denmark, 2025. So now I have my text, and it's time to pick a prettier font. This is just the Arial, but I think I probably want to go with something like Bell. I don't like letters. Let's see. Bodoni might work, but it does look a little compressed. Californian, Cambrian. I actually think I want to go with the Edwardian script, so I'll just scale it down. And I could have made this in 2 words, but I can also drag this out a little, and then I can choose the V space, and I can actually bring the date up closer. Since date is a little big compared to the name, I will duplicate this one, and then I will delete the date down here, and I will delete the name up here, because now I can make the date a little smaller, and it will all fit together better. So I want to make sure that these are aligned, so I will mark both of them, and I will align selected objects and center them. And once I have those aligned, I will group them by holding down Alt-T, and then I'll click my ornaments and I'll align it again. So now I know that the name is 100% aligned to where I want it to be. And now it's just a matter of sending this to my laser, and we are ready to go. Personalized ornaments like these, and it doesn't have to be memorial, it could be for a wedding or something like that, is really, really great sellers. As said, I will be adding some angel wings and something else to my ornament, but making a simple ornament like this and knowing how to do it, you could also make a keychain, will bring in a lot of income. But let's proceed and show you how I'll be cutting the actual ornament, because the material I'm using is also really, really great for this. I just finished engraving and cutting the ornament which we just made, and it turned out absolutely stunning. I decided to use my big red 100-watt CO2 laser only because of one reason, because I could have gotten a way better result using a lower watt diode laser, but I know that the air assist on my machine over here isn't the greatest, so it will actually give me some residue marks. The engraving and cutting time on this one was 5 minutes and 30 seconds. But whenever you do have residue marks, make sure that you always sand them. That will leave a much nicer result in the end. To sand, I personally use a Ryobi sander with grit 320, but you can use any. I will drop the link below in case you are interested in the sander, but it's really fast to do. You just sand both sides, and then you use a dry painter's brush to clear out all the dust. And I just did exactly that. Maybe you can see the difference, maybe you can't, because it is a little hard to show on camera. Another way that you could enhance your ornaments is by staining afterwards, which will also darken the engravings. I decided to list this ornament on my website for free in case you want it, but let's head over to my own actual version of this. Because I did decide to go with the simple version, but I also made a layered angel wing version, which I will be cutting from a very special material, which I love. This file will be available in my Etsy shop, and it will contain a backer like this, where you can place your picture and engrave the name, and then it will contain a top frame. The material I will be using is material that I got from Creatorally. They have these beautiful both side colored basswood plywoods, and I really want to use the gold for the frame and the white for the back. The reason that I am going to use these and I am going to cut on my 80 watt is because I actually want to get a little bit of residue just to show you how easy this material is to clean, and in the end color fill, because I will be color filling mine. So let's head over to the laser and show you how beautifully and easy this is to cut and engrave. My laser is now done engraving. I did run over my engraving once more because it didn't get as much details. As I said before, a lower wattage laser would be better to engrave small details like these. But as you do see, I do have a lot of residue, which is exactly why I use this machine. Because for this material, you can just take some wet wipes, baby wipes, call them what you want, even a regular cloth, damp cloth, and then you can actually just wipe off all that sticky residue. So cleaning material like this couldn't be any easier. The reason that I am doing it while it is in the machine is especially for the angel wings, because then I can add a little more pressure than if I were wiping it off without having it in the laser. You see, it's so let's move these. And as you see, it does cut through really nicely. So this is the finished bagger, and you can get a little residue on the back as well. But again, you can just wipe it straight off with a cloth. Same goes with this one. Just take your cloth and wipe it off. Let's show you how this one looks assembled and head over to my table. My laser did do a decent job on the engraving, but I actually wanted to show you how to color fill it in case you want to enhance it. So to do that, and also I kept this little inner round because I'll show you a little extra tip afterwards. But to color fill this material, all you need is paint of some sort. I'll be using this metallic paint, and I'll be using the color called Rich Espresso. This paint is from Amazon, and I will drop the link below. All you then need is a brush and your wet wipes. So I will just take the lid off and dip my brush straight into the bottle. And this was pretty much, but it's okay. And then I'm just going to smother this everywhere around my engraving. Make sure that it will go inside the entire engraving. And if you get too much paint like I have here, you'll just need to wipe over some additional times. But I will move a little over the engraving to secure that it is stuck inside the engraving everywhere. Once you've added your paints, take a wet wipe, and these are really wet, so I am actually going to squeeze out some of the liquid, which I just did now, and then you just carefully wipe off the excess paint, and you take another. And again, these are really wet, so I always squeeze out some of the water. Now you can go in and clean up. And when you are color filling engravings like this, make sure that your engravings are pretty deep, because if they are only superficial, you will take off the paints again. And that's why I did engrave this a second time. To engrave deeper, you either increase your power you can lower your speed, or you can even increase your DPI, that's per inch, and that will leave you with a deeper engraving. And since I did have a lot of paint, I do need another clean wipe. And let's give it the last wipe off here. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the easiest way to color fill your engravings, in my opinion anyway. I don't know, this is the method you prefer. If you do have a suggestion on something that's faster or easier, please drop a comment. But this is how I truly prefer doing all my color filling. Should you have something that isn't color filled the way you want, you could go in with your brush, add a little more paints, and then just wipe over again. But my ornament is now color filled, and would you look at that? So all that's left to do now for me, just pack these wet wipe away and close my paints, is to glue on my top wings. And the reason that I do love to use this material too is that it has color on both sides. So in case I was only doing something in one layer, I didn't have to worry about a ugly back. I actually think I will add a little paint to my hanger up here just to give it the same color as my engraving, like that. And then I'll just use some super glue. You could also use wood glue, whatever you want. If you want, you could even cut this part with 3M tape touched, but I'm just going to add in some drops of super glue randomly on the wings and round frame. When you are using super glue, make sure that you place it correctly the first time, because you don't have a lot of time to let it cure. I will just wipe over here because I did some of the glue. I'll just add in last couple of drops here, and let's add this to ornaments. And as said, if you are interested, this ornament, I did list it in my Etsy shop as well as my website. The links can be found in the description. But you just align it to the edges, and I do have a dot of glue up here, and that's it. So the reason that I did keep this one is in case you want to sell these, but you want your customer to be able to add their own picture. You could then tell them, don't engrave anything, and tell your customers to use this inner rounds to place on our actual photo, and then they can cut out and glue it inside the middle. And as a little comparison, this is the first one that I did in wood, and this is the result of both. This one is so fast and easy to make, and even this simple. I guarantee you that this will be a great seller if you choose to sell it. This one will as well. It's a little more beautiful and handcrafted, but which one do you prefer? If you like this video, please let me know, and please let me know which tips you learned the most of in this video, because I did share a few. And also, if you have anything that you would like to see in the future, please drop a comment, because I love making these tutorial videos for you. But I'd much rather make something that I know you love and need, instead of just what I think you want. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. And in case you want to learn more about color filling, you should definitely check out the video that I linked up here.